Good morning. I'm Rafael Perez Figueroa, and I introduced myself in a previous section. Before we get started, I would to thank you for taking the time to be here and share your perspective, experiences, and insight about fatherhood with us. Can you please tell us your name and a little bit about your experience as a father?
Yes, thank you. My name is Earl Young. I am a new father, as having custody of my son for the last 2.5 months for the first time in my life. This is due to my incarceration periods and drug addiction and extremely bad choices. It wasn't until after I went through the KY Dad Academy last year that I was able to find resources that would help me in my endeavors to get my son back.
Thank you so much. And we go with you.
My name is Kwame Caldwell, and I have 4 children. I have 3 girls and 1 boy. My experience as a father has been a little bit challenging in the beginning, and it's also been a thrill with my baby girl to having to be, in our life daily. I have full custody of her now, and it's been good.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Can we go with you?
Yes, my name is Cedric Boone. I'm a father of 2 nice little young ladies, 12 and 14, 1 biological, 1 non-biological. It's been a very challenging road for the last 8 years. Very challenging experience.
Thank you for sharing that with us. As you know, we interviewed fathers, and we were fortunate to work with an artist who translated key findings into poems. One of these artists is Farah Tucker, who wrote several poems reflecting on the experiences of fathers who participated in our study. So in this section, we are going to be reading those poems, and I'm interested in learning about your experience and how do you relate to these poems. Why don't we start by reading the first poem? And maybe you can go ahead and read that poem, and then we take it from there and start our conversation.
Yes, thank you. The space I leave behind. Banish me, and you will send a current of consequences speeding through generations. A flood of failures set in motion, fractured families, drowning in disconnection and dis-ease. Nothing but devastation in the space I leave behind. Communities ill and aching for their exiled fathers. A whole culture bleeding from a wound in the shape of men who were sent away. Beautiful beating hearts, desperate for a homecoming.
Thank you so much, And why don't we begin discussing what does this poem means to you?
When I see the verse in this poem, fractured families, drowning in disconnection and disease, I think of how I was raised without a father. I was orphaned and adopted and brought to Kentucky from Florida. And I can't help but feel maybe that had an effect on how my outlook was towards being a father. Choosing a wilder life, in the lines of drugs and stuff, instead of being there for the children that I helped create. Of course, not knowing that you're a father to a son that was born while I was in prison also played a big role in that. But that's what I think of when I see fractured families, just drowning in disconnection and disease. I can't help but think of that.
Any other thoughts related to this poem that you would like to share?
Yeah, beating hearts, desperate for a homecoming. I got 2 beautiful children at home. And you got one that I'm still, right to the day, 8 years later, having trouble with, or wanting to be with her mom. That's all I gotta say. That hurts. But at the same time, you understand because I love my mom too. So you have to look at everything on both sides, the woman's side and the man's side. So you get that's actually a good thing if you look at it. At the long time if I've been doing it, you have to make a positive out of it now.
When you say that you are still having trouble with this child, can you tell us a little bit more?
Well, the reason why I say trouble, it's not necessarily trouble, it's just her desperately wanting to go home. She knows my time is up, pretty much. It's the way I perceive it. You know, like I said, I have a non-biological child. But at the same time, I'm still her father. But she doesn't see it that way. She knows there's another man out there that's her father, and she knows she only has one mother. So it's time, I guess she's saying that she's wanting to be around the love that she's, you know, the blood. I guess it's an energy thing, blood, because she still sees her mom, you know, but it also affects their mind.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes.
Do you have anything else to add?
The fractured families, like you said, drowning and disconnecting disease, just I related to that as far as growing up without a father, always wanting that father figure, wanting to know who I was, as far as the things that I was, you know, doing at the time, you know what I'm saying, and not having that connection. And then when my oldest daughter was born, I was lost, really. I was afraid, didn't really know how to be a father. Didn't have one, looked at my uncles and, you know, people like that in the streets. But that in itself, just drowning in disconnection, just wanting to keep on going and wanting to be encouraged and wanting to have that father figure to look at you, to be proud, to be proud of, you know what I'm saying? And that was the thing that led me down a different path where I followed other guys looking for that role model, looking for that father figure. So yeah, that's set with me as well.
This point talks about like a current of consequences speeding through generations. So when this point says that, how do you guys relate to that idea?
With my father not being there for me, if I don't be there for my children, then it'll just keep going. You know what I'm saying? Until you break that cycle and plant your feet and go ahead and take responsibility and be there. But it could be just like, yeah, it's at a flood of failure set in motion.
Anybody else have other thoughts that would like to share?
I agree with him. Breaking that generational curse by being there for our children now and doing our best to be the person that we didn't have. That's my main goal, is to just be there for my son.
Yeah.
Show him that I'm there no matter what. No matter how many times he gets in trouble at school, I'm still his dad. And that's all I want. You know, that's all I wanted when I was a kid, but I didn't get. And that's what I want him to know he has.
As a public health professional, for me, when I read like the section that talk about communities ill and aching for the exile of fathers, that speaks volume to me, right? Like, because it goes beyond the experience of a father to talk about like the impact of communities. And if I add to that like the perspective of a man of color, right? I think about like the impact that fatherhood have on communities that we care about. What do you think about like that idea that this poem express related like to communities? How your experience relate to your community?
Where I work with a large variety of homeless populations, mostly veterans, and the family members of veterans that are homeless. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these people are fathers. Trying my best to connect them with as many services as possible to give them that hope, give their hope back to them that they have lost because so many people turn their backs on them. You know, giving them that confidence and giving them the proper resources to reconnect with their families. Let them know that people do care about them just because we care. And that's a big deal. It was a big deal to me when I did it, when I came out of my drug addiction. Just people being there for me and helping me find the right choices. Not make the choices for me, but give me options on choices that will lead me in the right direction. And that's hard, especially if you have a background with felonies and stuff. You know, we don't have a lot of options, but when you have people in place connecting you with the right resources that will help you further your life, broaden your career, and give you a better chance of being that dad, you know what I'm saying? It's such a big deal. And I was blessed to have people like that, social workers, that intervened in my life, that helped me, you know, just have me a chance to change my trajectory. You know what I'm saying?
And can you tell us what is the work that you do these days?
I currently work at Pathways. I cover a 10-county area for Pathways for veterans, service members, and families of veterans who are homeless, drug addicted, or even with any type of mental disorders. I try to help them find solutions for mostly substance use disorders. I deal a lot with volunteering at food pantries, taking food out to what we call tent cities and stuff. Because a lot of times people's pride, even though you're homeless, your pride's going to stop you going up and asking for help. And just because they got that pride doesn't mean they're not a human being. I don't care what background or ethnicity it is, we're all human beings. Everybody deserves love. Everybody deserves to know that people do care about them.
Thank you, Eric. Anybody else have anything to add to this conversation about this point?
I can say one thing. I heard both of y'all saying about your childhoods or whatever. I can't say that. That's why I couldn't. But I can say this, you know. It is the decision that you make, you know. And y'all, seems like y'all make the right decision, you know, just by listening to you. My dad was a preacher. Yeah. My mom, she's a Christian, you know, but they divorced or whatever. And it was hard on me as well. So I guess that, you know, it's a little bit of missing out on certain things also. So, you know, listening to y'all, I'm learning something myself.
Do you have like the experience of your parents?
I still got, yeah. I mean, you have to take some matters on your own. You have to make decisions on your own now a little bit faster than you would with both parents there. You know, so yeah, it was different.
What is something that is making you these days doing the right decisions?
I'm blaming on my kids. When I found out that I had an opportunity to have full-blown custody of them, like I stopped everything. Like I was still on parole and everything, and I knew that I was gonna get custody of my kids. All I had to do was comply. I didn't even have a paid attorney. But I can say this, that the system is designed for women. If they just on the woman's side from looking, from having to play both roles at certain points in my life, that all they have to do is just comply. Because they waited so long, the court system waited so long to give me custody. Yeah, like I waited and waited and waited.
That theme that you just bring to the table about like the system and the challenges that you face in the system is something that like the fathers in our study spend a lot of time talking about. I wonder like if you can tell us a little bit more about like what are like those challenges that you face as fathers when you try like to engage into the life of your children.
Well, I tried to, I hadn't seen my daughter when she was born, my youngest daughter. Her mother pretty much had went MIA at the time. So I was trying to, get a visitation. So I was going to different attorneys, but they were, out of my price range. I couldn't afford them. I had to have money on the spot. And then I ran across an old friend that told me, that he was in a similar situation and he filed a motion to get in the courts itself. So we were able to eventually go down that path. And like he said, it was even though my daughter's mother wasn't complying with the court's recommendation, it just kept getting laid over for like a whole year. And it was only until I got some information that I was able to get full custody of my daughter. But I couldn't believe that in my background, I've had criminal charges and other things, and I had to show up for court. If I had a court date, I had to show up for court. But she was always we were laid over, she didn't show up for court this time. We'll lay it over, she didn't show up for court this time. And
what will happen to you if you don't show up to court?
Oh, depending on the situation, it may be a bench warrant or something that's going to get me there the next court date. I didn't think that if it was on the other foot that I would get that many opportunities not to show up for court or comply with the judge's orders. You know, so.
Thank you for all this, bringing like to the table all these experiences of you. For the people out there that, you know, like want to learn about like this program, want to learn like about the issues that you are like going through, wants like to be better fathers, for providers that like want like to provide services to fathers like you, what else do you have like to say to them?
I would suggest to them that they put their self in that person's shoes. To be more understanding situations. Say someone does have to work a little bit extra one day, a little bit of overtime just to make ends meet for them and their child. Understand that just because they come in and couldn't make it to that drug test or couldn't make it to that counseling, psychoeducational segment, group therapies, to be more understanding, to just be in that person's shoe and understand what they're going through. Everybody is different. Every person that a provider sees is different. We're all individuals in society. We just have to be more understanding.
Thank you so much. Anybody else?
And to add with that, if you got something that's going on and like he said, I feel like just the people just need to answer the phones. Answer the phones. You want us to do what y'all ask, answer the phone. That was one of my big issues. They'll get in your life, but you can't get back in theirs.
Answer the phone.
Yeah, answer the phone. The system is what I'm talking about. I was just trying to use a little metaphor, but I'm going to get to the point. Just answer the phones. You come doing your job, so it's us to comply with you. So just answer the phone. I know you got 1,000 other things to do, but we do too. That's all I got to add to that.
Yeah. So one of these points talk about like, I'm not a PS, bring me to the table, right? Like answer the phone. Thank you for bringing that idea to the table.
Yeah. Like it's simple.
Just trying to establish a relationship with the child that you had no contact with. It was difficult as far as knowing how to navigate that. Trying to get into the court system and visitation. Like I said before, not being able to afford the attorney. So how do I get this in front of a judge? But having a place to go, like, the Center for Fatherhood and Families, to be able to come to the door and like, look, I need help with this. Can you help me get to this point? You know what I'm saying? Because without that, it would have just kept going on. It was 3 years before I was even able to see my daughter. But just trying to figure out how to navigate that, having, support people or somebody that can give you knowledge even though they can't advise you. You know what I'm saying? Like the judge, when I finally got in front of the judge, she said, well, I can't do this, but they can, help you out in this area. And then once I got her, then I got to get her in school and do all of this. And I was like, man, how am I going to do this? I need to talk to this person, reach out to this person. And so it was, just having that knowledge of who to go to. Then you can share that with somebody else that's, looking to do those things too.
Any final thoughts that you haven't been able to express that you will want to make sure that other people are aware of?
Yeah. All that he was just talking about. Do you not know that where's your work time? Now you got a job. Now, all that you got to do, that's a lot of ripping and running, ain't it? That's a lot of time off work. That was consistent. I remember one time it took me 6 jobs to get my kids back.
and it's challenging on
Sick
top of
job.
that, like seek for resources, right?
Yes, and you're gonna do what you gotta do for your family first. So your jobs don't matter, but it does. So to the employers, please understand. Y'all got families too. I've heard that so much. It's like they got it written down. Okay, we're gonna deal with this for about a certain length of time, and then we're gonna have to let it go. Like 6 times. You can't do that at McDonald's, or you can't do that at Toyota. You can't do that at UPS. You can't do that on. Thank God for my trade. And I'm a mason by trade. If you need any brick and block work, there you go, right here. 20 years of experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for listening to us.